For some Filipinos living abroad, may mga pagkakataon po na you reach that crossroad in your life kung saan kailangang gumawa ka ng desisyon na alam mong may long-term effect sa buhay mo. One of that could be getting naturalized in a foreign country, which you know could adversely affect your plan of doing business in the Philippines. Na ipaliwanag ko na po ito in our previous videos na there are certain restrictions or limitations for the foreigners in doing business in the Philippines. But this time, we will focus on the real estate business. Some of you have asked me about acquiring land or real property in the Philippines, at nasagot ko na po ito in some of our previous videos. I strongly recommend that you watch these videos, and I will just put the link in the description box of this video. But one striking question is, can you, after losing your Philippine citizenship, engage in the real estate business in the Philippines? When I speak of real estate business, it could mean a lot of things. One, can you engage in the business of rental properties, such as apartments, boarding houses, Airbnb, lease of commercial or industrial buildings or spaces, such as warehouses, or lease of commercial or industrial lots? Or perhaps you might be thinking if you can engage in the business of buying and selling raw lots. This would require massive land banking, and this might sound simple, but you have to expect strict regulatory requirements for this. Well, some people are into this kind of business, but not really in a legal way. Or maybe you want to take advantage of the pre-selling of residential flats or condominium units and gain by selling them at a higher price later. Marami na rin po ang gumagawa nito, not only in the Philippines but even in other countries. Or perhaps you might be interested in acquiring, developing, and running a resort and hotel business. You might also be considering if you can acquire a substantial area for an agricultural, agro-industrial, or agri-tourism project. Baka mahilig po kayo magtanim ng halaman. Or on a larger scale, can you engage in a real estate development, such as a subdivision or a condominium project? Well, I'm not going to talk about the real estate investment trust in this video yet. I don't think I need to discuss how the real estate business or how the real estate industry provides the flexibility and convenience that fits so well for someone who resides miles and miles away from the Philippines. Imagine being in the US, Canada, Australia, United Kingdom, Japan, or in whichever country you are now, and you open a restaurant or retail business or a resort business in the Philippines. Unless you have a very efficient system in place, nothing can take the place of you being physically present to at least monitor the status of your business, or if not, directly manage your business. On the other hand, long-term leases in the case of real estate offers you the convenience of less to no management at all. In the case of other rental properties like apartments or boarding houses, having a trusted real property manager in the Philippines would suffice to run your business from abroad. But again, the question is, can you still engage in such kind of business after losing your Philippine citizenship? Under the 2022 negative list, foreign equity in a business that involves ownership of private lands is still limited to 40%. This is so because ownership of a public or private land by foreigners is still prohibited under the 1987 Constitution except through hereditary succession. I have a full discussion on this topic in one of our previous videos. So what does it mean? Applicable ba ang restriction na ito sa mga former Filipino citizens? Not absolutely. Dahil sa ilalim po ng Republic Act 8179, allowed po ang mga former natural-born Filipino citizens to acquire private lands for business purposes, subject lamang po sa mga area limitations. Iba pa po ito sa land that can be acquired and owned by a former natural-born Filipino citizen for residential purposes under Batas Pambansa Bilang 185. The only limitation or restriction mentioned under RA 8179 is that you cannot use this privilege to engage in the business of buying and selling lands. But for other business purposes, pwede naman po. Well, at least, maliban na lang kung you have the intention to invest in having a huge inventory of rental houses, commercial spaces at industrial buildings, you might find the lot area permitted under RA 8179 sufficient for your business purposes. But if you really plan to have a huge inventory of rental property or a much larger area for your agricultural, agro-industrial, or agri-tourism project, for now I can cite 4 possible options. Ang first option po is for you to incorporate. But please remember po na up to 40% foreign equity lang po ang allowed sa ganitong corporation. Meaning a foreigner can own only 40% of the company. Be mindful that using a dummy is a crime in the Philippines. It means that the foreigner uses a Filipino citizen as a proxy for registration and reporting purposes to avoid the restrictions on foreign ownership, but there are side agreements wherein the foreigner exercises control of the business. It is prohibited. Your another option is a long-term lease because while foreign ownership of lands is prohibited, pinapayagan naman po ng batas ang long-term leases. It is usually resorted to in cases of commercial spaces and industrial warehouses. I am not sure though kung saan ito mag-fit in sa real estate business mo. But regardless kung anong klase ng business ang iniisip mo sa ngayon, just know that as a former Filipino and when you need a substantial land area for your business, long-term lease is an option. You may also settle with condominium units for your rental business. This is a very good option dahil allowed po ang 40% ownership sa mga condominium projects. Having several rental condominium units can generate a quite good passive income for retirement, don't you think? And Airbnb also provides a viable option these days. I have one more option, which is for you to retain or to reacquire your Philippine citizenship under RA 9225. This can be your passport to acquiring private lands for your business without the restrictions that apply to foreign citizens or nationals. And also on the type of business na gusto mong pasukin sa Pilipinas. By the way, may mga nagtatanong po about those who acquired lands in the Philippines before they lost their Philippine citizenship. Can they retain the ownership of those lands or are they bound to lose them? My position on this is that they can retain the ownership of those lands because what is prohibited by the Constitution is the acquisition of those lands by a foreigner. Meaning to say they were foreigners at the time that they acquired those lands. It does not apply to those lands which were acquired by them when they were still Philippine citizens. Also, both Batas Pambansa Bilang 185 and RA 8179 recognize the ownership by former natural-born Filipino citizens of those lands by setting the limit for subsequent acquisition by them on top of what they already own. Before I would end this video, I would like to leave 2 questions. First, do you think the Philippine laws provide an ample opportunity for Filipinos abroad to invest and do business in the Philippines? Second, what do you think the Philippine government has to do to make the Philippines more attractive for investments? Please feel free to leave a comment below. And please don't forget also to subscribe to this channel if you haven't done it yet, and hit that notification bell icon so that you will get notified of our future videos. Always remember, ignorance of the law excuses no one from compliance therewith. I will see you in my next video. Ingat po kayo.